You're listening to Second Cut. This is the podcast from thefilmmagazine.com where we talk about topics in movie history, criticism, and theory, even though that's not the order I say it in, because we like to talk about that stuff. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who has been naked in my room for the last 4 months until today when I was shaved and clothed.
And we thank you for that. I'm Sam. I'm the one who wishes that his house was powered by a fire demon and could walk around.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one that wishes he could do like CGI wire fu with daggers.
Who said you can't?
Have you tried?
Look, I have to keep it a secret, okay?
I watched a really bad parkour movie where a guy is doing just the easiest parkour any of us could do right now. And one of the actors says, "Oh, there must be wires or something." And it's just like jumping over a bike rail.
I mean, look, you know, when I haven't been out of the house for a couple of days, I would look at that bike rail and go, "Yeah, no, I'm not fit enough for that." So, you know, it's all a matter of context and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We are doing movies that are now 20 years old from the year 2004.
Yeah. Where were you when this was a thing, kind of thing?
Ooh.
Realistically, we should have like party poppers and anniversary. Yes, you've survived for 20 years. Congratulations, and you're still somehow relevant.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah, I mean, basically, I look back on this list of films, and it made me feel extremely old, thinking, God, these are 20 now. It almost seems like yesterday I was 13 and watching most of these for the first time.
Oh, see, and I was 11 and not watching these, except for The Aviator, because my mom loved Leo. So this is probably the only Scorsese movie that my mom got me into instead of my dad.
Admittedly, I turned 7 that year because I'm the baby of the group. So, like, most of these films I haven't got a clue about. I was probably watching Scooby-Doo movies and possibly Harry Potter at the time. Maybe Ice Age, and that was about it. So there you go. Most of these things are like, they're 20 years old, yeah, but I have no relation to them at all.
Yeah.
I mostly know $1 Million Baby from the Sunny episode that parodies it.
I think I did see Incredibles in the cinema, though. I will say that.
Yeah, I saw Incredibles and Harry Potter, probably Shrek 2 as well. I don't think, admittedly, I don't think I saw my film on the year of its release. I saw Spirited Away pretty much straight away, but it probably took me a few more years to get on to the rest of the Studio Ghibli stuff, I think.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you I did not see House of Flying Daggers.
Now,
Try finding a place where I lived that would have shown it, to be honest, let alone getting to see it.
we've mentioned at least one movie already we have a question on. James, he asks, so who's doing Scooby-Doo and who's on Euro Trip? Man.
Here's the thing. When I say the Scooby-Doo movies, I mean the animated ones. I don't think I've seen any of the live-action ones all the way through. I've seen bits when they've been on like TV. I've been around at somebody's house. I haven't sat down and watched them all the way through.
I did see that one in the cinema too.
My wife loves the live-action Scooby-Doo movies, and the week we were doing conservative movies, I almost did the first Scooby-Doo because it is on the list.
What?
And she was just happened to be watching it.
We didn't do conservative movies, though, did we? We did liberal movies with awful takes on them.
You're right. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean that's maybe one for a future episode. James Gunn's like pre kind of fame career.
I call the fake porn.
That's just called Slither, and then somehow after that he does Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the thing, admittedly, that annoys me about James Gunn. You see him doing quotes. It's like, oh, even if you've got like $5, you can take your phone and you're a filmmaker. And I'm like, your feature film debut had a budget of 15 million. The second one was Guardians of the Galaxy. Shut up about directing with no money. Like, fuck her off.
Now, I also have confused Euro Trip now with that Todd Phillips sex road trip movie. So, no, I will not be doing Euro Trip.
I mean, Eurotrip was like a sex comedy, wasn't it? It was like a lot of American teenagers going across Europe. I think I watched it at uni, I seem to remember. They definitely ends up at the Vatican, and there's some business of the Pope, I seem to remember. and then there's a scene on a train with like this pervy Italian guy who keeps groping them every time they go for a tunnel, and then the trains and they go, "Hey guys, there's a really long tunnel coming." You just hear all these sounds of sexual assault in the darkness. You know, it was a different time. You know, it was 20 years ago, guys.
Look, on Wikipedia, it's classified as an American teen sex comedy. So there you go.
It also is the originator of the song "Scotty Doesn't Know," which I know much more intimately than the film.
Matt Damon. Oh God.
Which
is it actually any good? Apparently, it has a 47%.
Song is pretty catchy. Yeah.
Yeah, the song is good. The film itself, I don't remember much of. It's probably fine for what it is.
And now I need to look up what Todd Phillips' sex road trip movie is. But James also wants to know, or he just comments, sorry, that Friday Night Lights and Dodgeball would be a decent double feature.
Yeah, of 2004 films. Yeah, I've not actually seen Friday Night Lights, but yeah, I like Dodgeball. I mean, it was quite a good year for comedies in general. I think 2004.
Yep.
Yeah,
At the very least, they're doing. Is it on the 28th of September? I think. Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright are all together for a 20th anniversary screening of Shaun of the Dead with a Q&A from all three of them down London somewhere.
Yes. So that year, you had Dodgeball, you had Shaun of the Dead, you had Anchorman, Sideways. Quite a few kind of wide-ranging kind of comedies. But I thought it was.
I mean, I'd actually argue that The Terminal is kind of a comedy, or at least a very light-hearted film, if not out and out.
Yeah, it's like it's a dramedy, I'd say.
And it does have possibly like one of John Williams' most underappreciated scores. Like the main theme for The Terminal is so fun and light-hearted that it's just a joy to listen to. I love it so much.
It's a shame not many people watch like movies on like terrestrial TV anymore, because The Terminal was one of those perfect movies where if it came on about 9:00 at night, you'd probably, even if you didn't have strong feelings about it, you'd probably end up being drawn into it and just watch it through, because it's just kind of, it's just so kind of comforting, isn't it? You know.
Admittedly, I'm now going to have to look up and see if there's an IMDb list of worst movies of 2004.
There definitely is. While you're looking that up, Kieran, Liam asks, did The Day After Tomorrow make anyone else want to embrace the sweet release of heat death from climate change?
Well, I would say to that, if you want to go find out my reviews on The Day After Tomorrow, you can go back a couple of months or whatever it is and find me discussing The Day After Tomorrow on this very podcast.
Yeah. I mean, one of Liam's main things is he absolutely detests Roland Emmerich, so he will keep coming back to that.
I mean, he did Day After Tomorrow that was good, and everything else is kind of mediocre, but got a lot of like flashy stuff in it. That's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, basically, he had a decent 90s, didn't he? So he did Independence Day and Stargate.
And he also did Godzilla as well. Starting to go downhill there.
Wobble of Godzilla. I think I'd argue kept wobbling with things like Day After Tomorrow, but kind of, I don't know, is he? Yeah, he's not done much really that you need to see since that.
The thing with Emmerich is that he's kind of, I'm not saying a one-trick pony, but most of his movies are kind of the same with a different skin.
Yeah.
It's just an excuse to have CGI spectacle blowing up, a bit like Michael Bay, but with slightly less explosion specifically. With dumb science over the top, and go for it.
Yeah. And in 2004, we also have The Notebook, which I've probably seen more than any 2004 movie somehow. Also Alexander, which I love. I know it's controversial. It was on my list to do possibly.
Yeah, I've got a copy of the extended director's cut that I've never even opened. I just can't. I mean, I seem to remember it being interesting, but I'm not sure if it's 3.5 hours long. Interesting.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, one of my guilty pleasures, I think I mentioned before. I've always had a thing for Van Helsing. It's just. I just always, I know it's kind of objectively it's not that remarkable, but I have fun with it. It's just
The the trouble with Van Helsing is, like, here's the thing: you had The Matrix, and then you had Resident Evil, and then Underworld came out, which is literally just The Matrix does Resident Evil, but then Van Helsing is literally just Underworld does Resident Evil, and like it's because it's literally just Underworld with Mila Jovovich and Hugh Jackman's in it, and then everything else is kind of Underworld aesthetic. So you get your Resident Evil bit with Jovovich, and then everything else is just kind of aesthetics. And everyone now at the moment, for some reason, is going, I love Van Helsing. It's so fun. It's a good movie. I watched it a number of years ago when I went through the entirety of Universal's monster movies, or anything that could be vaguely classified. Somebody did a list of like 95, 96 of them, and I'm like, it's not a good movie. Objective, like from an objective kind of like straight up critical view, like emotions aside, it's not a good film. I don't know why people are trying to defend it that it is.
But you know how, by the way, if you've played the second cut drinking game, anyone, we come around to some topics we've covered many times before. You know how you've got a thing for Eric Roberts as the Master in the Doctor Who Doctor Who TV movie. Well, I'm sort of like that with Richard Roxburgh as Dracula, and that really, I just think he's just having at the time of his life, just camping it up.
As long as you can defend that Dracula, but the one I will not have people defending is Dracula Untold. That is an abysmal movie, and anyone defending that, it genuinely just needs to have their head examined. Very simply, there's no way you can defend that movie.
Also, I've discovered I lied. But my most watched 2004 movie is easily Anchorman. I forgot that was 2004.
Here's the thing: I plucked up on IMDb worst films of 2004. Catwoman is only at number 11. How does that even happen?
Wow.
Apparently,
probably UA Ball probably had a couple of films out there as we covered.
Number one on this list is something that obviously I need to see the first one of in order to get the second one. Does anybody want a guess what the number one worst film might be? Put it this way, I wouldn't have thought of it, but as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I have vaguely heard of that, and I have vaguely heard it's atrocious.
I have no idea.
No, I don't know.
Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
Oh my god. That's amazing.
Here's the thing. On IMDb, right? So this is literally the IMDb rating. Do you want to guess the rating of it? Because normally on IMDb, even like the awful ones are like 3.5, stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, that's out of 10.
Has it got a 0.5?
Thankfully, it's not quite that low.
I'm going to go with 1.
It's 1.5. Like, and the Metacritic score, apparently, 9. I've never seen a single-digit Metacritic.
That is insane. A couple others that I know I enjoyed back then: Napoleon Dynamite and Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Yeah, great year for comedies, wasn't it?
It really was.
And then you've got a movie that I enjoyed, and I know I watched a lot, but I was like 7 or 8 at the time, so cut me some slack. I didn't really, it's look at the funny things on the television. I wasn't really differentiating. I've just seen here Garfield was 2004.
That's amazing. With a Eurotrip actor playing John Arbuckle.
Like, I didn't see the second one because I think by the time it came out, I had some vague sort of sense.
I saw it in theaters, Kieran, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, the Brits normally do have more sense.
So Shrek 2 was the biggest movie of that year, which I've got a lot of time for. It's definitely the best of the Shrek films.
It's not bad.
And obviously you had Prisoner of Azkaban, Spider-Man 2, and then Incredibles, and The Passion of the Christ rounding out the top 5 biggest box office hits.
I will say, as much as people will have a go at the Potter movies, like they're part of my childhood, and Prisoner of Azkaban is genuinely a very good film in its own right, and that's not just because of Quentin.
Yeah, it's the only, it's kind of the only one of the early ones that actually feels like it's been directed, by someone with like a vision.
Yeah, it feels like it has like a unique personality for it, because kind of the first two were kind of setting everything up. The third one tried to do something different, which is why it feels different compared to the others. and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 has that run towards the finish line of like the main Voldemort storyline kind of thing.
Yeah. And at the Oscars, the Oscars following year, $1 Million Baby was the big winner, which I've never actually seen. So that got Best Picture Director for Clint Eastwood, and Best Actress for Hilary Swank, and Best Supporting Actor for Morgan Freeman. So
hang on, is this a 2004 or 2005 films that came out?
The 77th.
Yeah. So the ones that celebrate the films of 2004, but the ceremony was 2005.
I was going to say, because didn't Crash win?
No, that one.
That was the year after. I think, wasn't it?
I thought it was the year before.
Yeah, because if you...
I thought it won
the Crash
in
came out
2004.
Yeah, it came out in 2004, so it would have been the 2005 Oscars.
But it wasn't. Because that was the year $1 Million Baby won.
So I'm not sure how this works. And before that, it was Return of the King.
Look at this. Yeah. Crashed.
Oh, it was 2006 Oscars, so it was a 2005 movie.
Okay.
What?
So, right. Yeah. Okay. So produced 2004, but not released in the US until May 2005. So it's because of the US release date that it got pushed to the next year.
USA.
Well, the
USA.
the Oscars are a very local ceremony, so...
Oh, very small. Nobody cares outside of us. Another movie that I want to watch now is the 2004 remake or just make of The Alamo. John Ford's.
Dawn of the Dead.
Well, I saw John Ford's like several times. I think it's John Ford's. It has John Wayne in it. But I want to see Patrick Wilson play William Barrett Travis now. That's a very you pretty much need to know Texas history to appreciate who he is. But yeah,
I know what the Alamo is, but I don't know who anyone involved was.
You don't know Davy Crockett?
Heard of him.
He's the king of the wild frontier.
Him? Okay.
Yes, he died there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in general, 2004 was a decent year for cinema.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't absolutely stellar, but there's enough on here that there were some bangers.
Yeah, there are some memorable ones here. I had a quick look at general beginnings and ends. So you had Millie Bobby Brown and Noah Schnapp were both born from Stranger Things. Then you also had the deaths of Peter Ustinov, Jerry Goldsmith, Janet Leigh, Marlon Brando, and Christopher Reeve. So
some big names going out there.
Yeah.
Was that also the year the South Park episode about him came out?
More than likely.
I think so. Yeah. But it's what I mean, the moment where he's sucking the
fetuses,
the life force out fetuses.
I think Trump brought that up in the debate on Tuesday.
It's something quite.
No, it was dogs they were eating, not fetuses.
There's something quite poetic about Jor-El and Kal-El, dying within months of each other.
Okay.
I was admittedly tempted to introduce myself for this episode. I'm Kieran. I'm the one that I will admit I was eating the dogs. But...
Well, you're not an illegal alien, Kieran. So.
Yeah. Not yet.
Oh God. Okay. Let's. Do we have anything else to say about the general 2004, or are we ready to discuss these movies?
No, as Kieran says, decent year, but there have been better.
And there's other stuff as well. I was thinking, like, did Bong Joon-ho or Park Chan-wook or anything like that do it in 2004? They were like either side. 2004 just happened to slot right in the middle of stuff like that. And like Crouching Tiger was the year before. And it's like, because looking for something interesting, City of God was a couple of years before. It's like the good kind of the very bad term of foreign film. The non-Anglophile like market, like especially from Asia. Everything kind of hit the other years. It's, why? Yeah.
Too bad you couldn't do Face Off. Just a few years before its time.
Yeah. Right. Should we get on with?
Let's go on that discussion.
You do get to talk about a movie from Hong Kong / China.
I was going to say, Admittedly, I have seen it. I don't know if it's Hong Kong or China or.
It's listed as both, and then it's in Mandarin, and that doesn't. I'm sure they speak Mandarin too in Hong Kong. So
Yeah,
so
because
it's Zhang Yimou, isn't it? Who is mainland Chinese?
and it's is it yeah, because you've got Hong Kong, then you've got mainland China, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got Hong Kong, China, and then mainland China. Because essentially, as far as I can work out, Hong Kong doesn't want to be part of China, and China's thing is like, okay, we won't call you China, we'll call you Hong Kong China. You're still subject to us, but you get to be called Hong Kong.
Yeah. And then they have Taiwan, which is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't Hong Kong British for a while too?
Yes. Yeah. It was a British colony.
It was a British colony,
until the
and then
90s,
essentially. Yeah, and then we moved out, and the Chinese were like, "Oh, great, we can have our country back." And Hong Kong's like, "No, that wasn't the point. We didn't get rid of one lot of oppressors to have another one." So China kind of took them over anyway, and just said, "We'll call you Hong Kong China, so you can feel like you're independent, but you're actually not."
Colonizing one of the oldest, whatever the word is, countries in the world that's insane.
Yeah.
The British are so cool.
Yep. It's like, yeah. I mean, it's not like
we sail around the world and put flags in other people's countries and say they're ours.
Yeah, well, we do that in space. Suck on that.
No, Jacob, you do that to the world, but you don't put flags there. You just put your movies and music there.
Yes, agree.
Let's be fair. So one movie that then eventually tried to get into the American Oscars but didn't get nommed for it is mine, House of Flying Daggers, which is a film that I knew of in passing and hadn't actually got round to watching. So I'm just like, you know what, sod it. Let's go different. Let's do something that's not just going to be the main big, Western blockbuster in 2004. So it's we decided Hong Kong. We'll say Hong Kong. Wuxia. Is it the Wuxia? I guess is the pronunciation.
Yeah,
WUXIA. Kind of romance film. So that's kind of their kind of specific brand of kind of martial arts, wire fu kind of thing, historical romance.
It's kind of martial arts film meets dance meets opera, basically.
Yeah. And it's directed by Zhang Yimou, as I said earlier, and he was the one that did Hero the year before, wasn't it? Which
real quick, it was nominated as China's entry for the best foreign language film, so I guess Chinese.
Yeah.
Or it's Hong Kong and China just said no, we're nominating it. I don't know the exact specifics, but that happens more often than not over there. So, like, I'm not gonna say it doesn't. But yeah, if anyone hasn't seen Hero, to be honest, there is a certain thing to be made that you can watch it without the subtitles because you're not really watching it for the plot. It's a series of vignettes, and each one just has a different color prominent as its kind of main palette. And it is one of the most gorgeous films ever made. And I'm kind of upset this wasn't 2004, it was 2003 that Hero was. Still, I sort of just gone, yep, we're doing Hero again. Because Hero's just... It's one of those ones you can almost watch with the sound off, but of course you got the score with it as well that kind of half makes it. It's just a beautiful film. It really is.
The film Running on Karma was Hong Kong's submission in 2004, and it was disqualified.
Yeah.
Why was it disqualified?
Great question. I will look.
Okay, yeah. So it seems like there's some fudging of numbers there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Zhang Yimou, he always makes a big thing of color in his films. I mean, obviously, as you say, he did it with a different color for each kind of chapter in Hero. The largely green of House of Flying Daggers, and then a few years later, he did Curse of the Golden Flower, which, wouldn't you know it, is mostly gold.
Really, I would never have guessed that.
And then just a few years ago, he did Shadow, which was sort of like his mostly monochrome kind of wuxia film. So
very much a visual.
I think it's based on Running on Karma was a 2003 release.
Yeah, well, Crash was like came out like 3 years before it wins the best picture. What do they do anyway?
Anyway, yeah, we're derailing you now. Come on.
I was going to say yes, House of Flying Daggers. It's got down here a wuxia romance film, because although it kind of has the dance stuff and martial arts bits in there, the martial arts is just kind of an excuse for the reason to exist. It is a romance film that happens to have this stuff in there, and that's how you get the people in to see it. And it's realistically a kind of love triangle. So you have the kind of the playboy of kind of the empire. I'm not sure if it's the empress or just a high up in the guard kind of thing. And there is this kind of resistance movement called the House of Flying Daggers that are trying to take down the soldiers and the empire. And the guard who is, let me get actual names. I have the excuse here because obviously it's Hong Kong Chinese and therefore I don't know names. But they must have done some translating, because it's apparently it is Captain Leo. What? So I don't know if it's just like Leo or something like that in Chinese, where you just pronounce it as Leo, because Leo doesn't sound like a Chinese name. Played by
It's like
Andy
2/3 of the way to a Chinese name.
Yeah, and I guess they do take on more anglicized names, especially if they're kind of making trips and doing kind of international pictures as well, don't they? Because people like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and things like that. So played by Andy Lau, and he kind of gets attacked. He's testing out a new kind of entertainer maid who is blind, and that is Mei, played by Zhang Ziyi, who turns out to be an assassin from the House of Flying Daggers that tries to take him down. And he decides instead to actually save her life, because he apparently really doesn't like the Empire as well, and he's going to actually try and help them. And he's kind of switching sides and running away with her. And she falls in love with him, only he's actually using her to try and get to the House of Flying Daggers. And then somebody else is involved in there, and there's a big love triangle of who will she actually choose, and all this kind of stuff. With some waifu thrown in as an excuse. You want to say something, Sam? Before I ramble?
No. Obviously, you said like a love triangle kind of aspect. I mean, that's a big part of it, isn't it? Yes, you got Andy Lau and you got Takeshi Kaneshiro, who was in a couple of Wong Kar-wai films. So he's so Japanese name. He's a Japanese actor, but based in Taiwan. So he's in a lot of Chinese films as well. But
he's
yeah,
in,
the kind of
Chungking Express and Fallen Angels. Just looking through.
Yeah. So he's it's this kind of central relationship between the three of them, and kind of the passion between, but also them all trying to work each other out, and kind of who's actually doing what and what's their kind of like main objective, basically. So it's a really kind of interesting film about like about perception and kind of how open you are or otherwise.
And you were talking earlier about the green. I mean, it's not green all the way through, but in the middle of the film, there is a kind of a predominance of green, where you have them in kind of the bamboo fields, and the kind of assassins from the House of Flying Daggers are all in green, and the green hats, everything like that. And I guess the one of the things that I will say is, I mean, as we were saying before, all his films look stunning, and this is a stunning film. It really is gorgeously looking, kind of thing. And to be honest, the plot line is kind of simple enough that you almost can watch it, I think, without the subtitles, because if you go kind of, action's happening between these two and this is happening, you kind of get the inference. And when it's like, okay, now these two are talking, okay, so this must be happening. Okay, now these two people are fighting, so this must have happened. It's one of those ones where you can almost watch it without subtitles. It's very visual.
Yeah, because there is dialogue, but it's mostly inconsequential stuff, and really it's everyone kind of expressing it, kind of the big kind of emotions, kind of physically, it is opera, it's like they're like their feelings are just so big, they've got to express it with a big action scene or a big dance scene,
and with big improbable flying daggers. When we say flying daggers, I don't just mean ones that go like that. I mean ones that you throw and they will curve around like that in order to strike.
It's like the bullets in Wanted.
It's like they move to the whim, and the kind of mind power things. And obviously because it's big and dramatic, you're not meant to take it as realistic, which is obvious in the first few minutes where there's like a room of people and they've got all these drums held up.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most stunning early scene because he has to test her abilities. She's in the middle, and obviously, she's blind, but they're checking her abilities and stuff. So they bounce a bean off all these circle of like drum kits, and she's got to hit each drum that it hits with like her sleeve, the sleeve of her gown.
And it's not like it's literally and it's exact every time. You're like, that would not make that noise. And then they're kind of in the big early fight, they're literally dancing and flying through the air, so it's obvious wire fu. And if you're expecting like genuine kind of sense now to be made when they're doing wire fu, you can kind of ignore the fact that the CGI daggers are flying everywhere. And that's the thing as well, when you get to around 2004, people are starting to use CGI to a half decent amount. In the 90s you use it for a little bit. The 80s it started to be used. It gets used in Tron, and then for really bad horror movie lightning effects, see Hellraiser for more information. The 90s kind of gets bits, and then I think it's probably when Pixar gets the animations really working. By the end of that, everyone goes, we can start actually using some of that in our stuff. I guess this will come up when we do House Moving Castle in a minute. There is quite a bit of the kind of CGI in the wire fu in this as well. But to be honest, when you've kind of gone, I'm not meant to take this as 100% serious, you kind of just ignore that. It gets a little bit annoying, but you kind of at the same time go, I can blank this out. There's the stuff that I'm not meant to take as real. For example, I throw 4 daggers, 1, 2, 3, 4, one after the other, like within about 5-6 seconds from the beginning to the last one. And then the first 3 kind of wait for the 4th one to catch up, and then they all go towards 4 soldiers at once to take them out at the same time. Like, you're not meant to take this as literal. It's an expression of an idea. It's theater. It's over the top and big, and it's almost like a kind of martial arts opera in a way. It's filmic opera. And then, so all this stuff is happening, and the characters are almost inconsequential. They're just kind of an excuse to show off in a way. They're big themes. Oh, you love me. Oh, no, I'm going to move on without you. You must do this. No, how can I do all that stuff? And everything's kind of really towards kind of the fight scenes, and then eventually you get towards the end where there's a big kind of duel between the 2 main characters fighting for the girl. And you can tell this isn't meant to be real because it's a normal kind of field, and then a couple of snowflakes fall, and within about 3 seconds it's blanketed white everywhere. Literally within about 3 seconds it's meant to be real.
It's almost like that their fight goes on for so long that the seasons change. It's like it's like
a fight goes on.
It's that over the top and dramatic.
And you know what? I bloody loved it. Like, because it's over the top and dramatic, and you're not meant to take it seriously, you can just kick back and go, I can enjoy the visuals of 2 people fighting over for their long lost love, and it's big and operatic, and nobody really cares about the small details, even though you do get some really nice moments when kind of like in the bamboo and everything goes everywhere, and they look over and you just see these people kind of draped in the green, hidden through the bamboo, and it just doesn't give any cameras. It's just there, and you go, oh crap, right, okay, this is serious now, So it's just big and fun, like wire fu, romantic kind of excuse to show off, essentially.
For me, I think it's I won't say it's Zhang Yimou's best film, because obviously we've got Hero as well, but I think it's my favorite of his films. It just kind of I just love like the big over the top emotions, and just turning everything that could have been a conversation into like a dance fight. It's amazing.
No. Normal films would have had an argument over like doing the
by
dishes.
Normal, Kieran.
Other films that weren't like wire fu, big epic romantic historical dramas would have had it being a fairly boring shot reverse shot argument over a kitchen sink doing the dishes, or over like a glass of wine kind of being spilt somewhere, and that would have been their big dramatic emotion. Here we have like an assassin fight, in a swimming pool kind of thing in like 900 AD China. Like, who doesn't want that as the alternative?
Well,
really,
I'll tell you who. I found a review from Caleb McBolt's a user on Metacritic, and he thinks the movie is silly. And he says House of
Yes.
Flying Daggers is merely a love story. Okay.
Really?
The martial arts scenes lose all meaning and relevance. So I think there is a disconnect between what is happening in the film and Caleb's interpretation. Maybe there did need to be some more dialogue for American viewers.
I think the trouble is the fight scenes are kind of used in the same way that like musical numbers are used in a musical.
Yeah.
Like they are kind of the point and they kind of carry everything along. If your thing with musicals is where's the music coming from, it's stupid that they'd be doing singing and dance routines in the middle of a street, that buildings exploding and then nothing goes on, everything goes on as normal. I can't get into that because it has no grip on reality.
It's merely a
therefore it
love
drags me out.
story. There's no relevance for these musical numbers.
Exactly. If that's your point, then you're going to hate pretty much all musicals. If you want
Yeah.
everything to kind of adhere to kind of what things would be in reality, this is not the movie for you, because this is not reality. This is a random thing where, sod it, instead of having an argument, let's have them flying around, dancing over drum kits, backwards, 10 seconds in the air, kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog double jumping for the point of it, and flicking out with daggers that go everywhere that are literally just there to show off and further a plot. It's not meant to be grounded in any way, and if you can switch into that mind frame, it's fine. If you're one of these people that can't do that in the nicest way, this is never going to be something that wins you over, because it's just a completely different method of telling a story.
Yeah, exactly. Like hyper reality kind of groundedness isn't necessarily the default and shouldn't be considered as such. If you're not going for that, then why should you be criticised? For not going that direction. It's just a different way of doing things, a different kind of stylistic choice.
I was going to say, if you like people that actually sing in not a register that only cats can hear, you're going to hate opera. This is just how it works. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's still telling a story, and the music's still great, and the performances are still wonderful. But if you can't get into that style of singing, you're going to absolutely hate it. If you're wanting a proper love story, then kind of you're not going to get on with this, because yes, it is a romantic film, but it's also an excuse to have people flying through the air and the kind of two play off each other. It's really fun, and it's probably not, if you've never seen a film kind of this type, or from a kind of historical film from China or something like that. Please bear in mind it's nearly 2 hours, so if you can find one that's 90 minutes, maybe start with that, especially if you're not kind of, you're not exposed to that. It's like if you've never seen a foreign language film ever, you're not going to start with a 3.5-hour Fellini film. It's just not the place to go. You know what I mean? Like, same kind of principle. If you follow the short of it, if you like this kind of thing, please check out House of Flying Daggers. It's wonderful, and congratulations on 20 years and still being bloody gorgeous.
Now I want 8.5 to be someone's first European film.
I'd like to point out that British films are European films.
Well, yeah, but I want them to not watch an English language movie and just watch 8.5 first.
It's not going to happen, is it? It's like that. That's just like that would be like going on the first day of like GCSE film studies or media studies. Right, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to teach you about Baudrillard. Like, it's just what the hell are you doing? You go in year 7, right? We're going to write an essay on Shakespeare. You just don't do it. You work your way in slowly. But if you can acclimatize quickly, House of Flying Daggers is great.
And critics loved this movie, and that's really what matters. Like, it made a ton of money, but like, this obviously should have been nominated for the Oscar, because it won several film critic awards, best cinematography, best sound editing. Like, this is super popular among people who liked films in 2004.
And more importantly, WJEC, which is the Wales Examination Board for A-level and high school, essentially, House of Flying Daggers, I'm seeing here, is a possible option for study at A-level film studies. So there.
Good choice.
As part of the foreign film component, or it was. It might have changed at some point, but I'm seeing it at least was. And I can see that because there's a study sheet that's put out by Educast WJEC, which is a kind of branch off of WJEC. So
Mm.
so there. Ta-da.
Well, I
There
think
are
we're
people in the UK studying House of Flying Daggers for their A-levels.
let's cross the East China Sea for our next film. We're staying in Asia, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to the
Yes.
land of the colonizers.
Yeah, so I'm talking about Howl's Moving Castle, which spoiler alert is probably my favorite Studio Ghibli film.
And you know Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah,
Just getting this in here. The original author of the book, where did she mostly grow up?
Diana Wynne Jones. Well, fun enough, despite the name, she only spent a short time in Wales. I don't think you can claim her as your own, I'm afraid.
Yeah, the trouble is, whenever you look at anything, it goes originally by like Welsh novelist Diana Wynne Jones.
Yeah.
She's British first and then Welsh second, you know.
Yeah. Apparently, she obviously had a Welsh ancestry, and she was evacuated there during the war. But no, she lived all over England for most of her life. So.
Admittedly, she ended up in Swansea, so she might as well have still been in the dump that is England. So,
I mean, I see born in London, died in Bristol. So whatever happened in between.
She went back to Bristol. She didn't get much better, to be honest. I feel sorry. London, Swansea, and Bristol, these are not three places in the UK that you kind of want to be associated with. She probably made those cities infinitely better. But
Yeah. So environmentalism, war and peace, pride and corruption, coming of age and redemption. It can only be a fairy tale from Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, really, can't it? He comes back to these themes like time and time again, and it's just in his wheelhouse. Plus a load of airships and kind of steampunk kind of machinery.
Flight
all
and
that
trains.
good stuff. Yeah, all that good stuff. Yeah.
I did not know Christian Bale was in this.
Well, he did some of the English language.
English dub. Yeah. So they had a deal for a while with Disney, where Disney got the American distribution rights and then redubbed them with like all-star casts normally. So
yeah.
And Josh Hutcherson, crazy.
Yeah, people like I think my DVD that is somewhere. I think my sister still nicked it up on Poppy Hill. Like I think people like Jamie Lee Curtis and Ron Howard were part of the dub for that and stuff.
I think Liam Neeson did the dub for Ponyo. He was like the Mermaid King.
So you missed something else on the list of kind of Studio Ghibli kind of bingo card, essentially, which is food.
Yes, I mean, I will find quite interesting because Miyazaki is famously fascinated by European and especially English kind of literature and culture.
Yeah,
he's a bit of an Anglophile. He loves like Lewis Carroll and stuff like that. And whenever he does like a vaguely European set kind of story, I mean, the original book is not based in a particular country. It's sort of like a fantasy kind of Europe, but it's a very Japanese take on like European culture and stuff. It's like stuff. It's always a little bit off, a little bit weird, but kind of entertaining for it.
I wonder what the reverse version of a weeb is. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the Studio Ghibli museum on the outskirts of Tokyo, and they have a whole gallery dedicated to foods in Ghibli films.
Yeah,
just like all that concept art stuff. I mean, there's always scenes of eating, and animated food always looks incredible. In this film, it's bacon and eggs looking like no bacon and eggs you could ever hope to make yourself. When the bacon's like an inch thick.
Like I need to go at some point if they reopen it and keep it open just to see what the Ghibli park is like that they've now got the Ghibli theme park. I don't think there's anything massively extreme, but a couple of Ferris wheels maybe.
I need to go back to Japan to see the full Ghibli theme park, and now also they've got a Godzilla theme park as well. So I need to see both of them. But yeah, so this obviously based on the Diana Wynne Jones fantasy novel. It's a story of Sophie Hatter, who's an unremarkable kind of she has at least an unremarkable tedious life as a hatter, as the name would suggest. She keeps herself and just spends day after day kind of sitting in a little workshop making hats. But life changes when she's swept up in the affairs of the mysterious wizard Howl. And because of that, she attracts the attention of the Witch of the Waste, who puts a curse on her that ages her to her in her 80s, basically. And she goes on a quest basically to get the curse reversed and find Howl, who makes his home in a castle on legs that walks around the countryside, and it's controlled by a fire demon called Calcifer, who has a deal going with Howl where they're both in debt to each other, in servitude to each other. So it's like a big old fantasy adventure quest movie, but with like lots of kind of quite endearing kind of domestic scenes of this really weird dysfunctional family basically living with each other and trying to help each other with their various issues.
When you get turned from like a young person into an 80-year-old, what are like the physical implications? Do you gain arthritis, or like do you just still get to be a spry young person who is 80?
No, she gets all the old lady kind of ailments. Basically, her back starts hurting, and she doesn't have the energy she does and everything.
I don't think that's specifically an old person thing. My back hurts from time to time now. So
wait till you get to 30, Kieran. You've got much more fun.
Great, that's it. I'm going Benjamin Button on this.
I've already got finger arthritis. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, one of the so while all this is going on, there's a non-specific war going on in the background, basically. So it's this kind of combination of various European countries and various times and places. But there's a big war going on distance, involving lots of airships I mean, there's like
thought I watched The Aviator. What?
there's like air raids on towns and stuff, but like magic's involved as well. So like both sides got wizards and they like demons they can send forth to attack each other and all stuff like that. So it's like it's a kind of a recognizable war, but kind of a fantasy one essentially. And Howl is an observer. He does go off and fight, but he's sort of not really sticking to one side over the other. He's sort of just generally at despair with humanity trying to wipe each other out, and he keeps disappearing for days at a time. Turns into a big bird because Japan. He just randomly turns into a big bird, and each time he does that, he struggles to come back out of it again, and he goes off to fight, and it gets increasingly. The curse on him kind of takes kind of stronger hold like each time he does that.
Well, Sam, I'm curious to know, what is the war like? Why is there a war?
Yeah, I mean that's sort of kept. I mean, it's sort of kept generally quite vague. I think they don't really go into the specifics of it. Something about like they mention a thing about a missing prince and one side blames another and stuff like that. But yeah, essentially it doesn't really matter. It's just generally Miyazaki's just like, all war is terrible, and that's kind of what Howl's doing. He's just kind of he's just seeing stuff that's going on and kind of lending a hand here and there, or just kind of giving into his darker impulses just to kill a few people. But yeah, it's generally a generally wasteful, costly war that's just happening and it's affecting everyone. But it's not really like the main thrust of the thing. But it's always like a thing in the background. So this is the kind of world where they have magic's involved, and like the king on one side, he is like court appointed sorcerer. She's like the main like power behind his like forces, and she trained Howl when he was younger. He used to be part of her academy, and she taught him all these amazing powers and everything. And then he went off by himself, and kind of made his own way in the world. There's lots of kind of people looking for other people for various reasons, normally to consume their power, or to settle scores and stuff like that. I mean, it gets a lot murkier kind of as things go on, but like the general what kind of big picture story. But generally, it's just about all these people with issues trying to overcome together and work out kind of how they can achieve happiness, I suppose. It's they're all missing a piece of themselves, and or trying to drag themselves out of a pit of despair or depression, or conquer loneliness, or find their way back home. They've all got all these kind of timeless kind of themes going on. I mean, that's kind of the most appealing kind of scenes to me. Real, it's just like when this weird family just hanging around, just talking and sharing their feelings and stuff.
That's a
One much,
general Miyazaki thing, that he likes
yeah,
to have scenes just of the niceness of just ordinary life, and he said he tries to
yeah,
put that in a lot of his film because he wants to show,
yeah,
especially kind of younger viewers, that sometimes just like the peace and quiet of
yeah,
just like
yeah,
doing the dishes or cooking
yeah,
or like
yeah,
watching flowers can be
yeah,
just as valuable to life as all the big kind of going out on the epic quest kind of thing.
yeah,
The downtime can be a reward in and of itself.
yeah, yeah. Another Miyazaki hallmark, a big old cleaning montage. When
Yeah.
Sophie first arrives at the castle, she basically employs herself as the cleaner, just so she can get close to Howl, basically, and kind of work out what his deal is. So she just cleans his castle from top to bottom. A few scenes later, it results in a massive meltdown from Howl when it turns out she's been in his bathroom and messed around with all his hair products, and there's various magical spells that he uses to keep his appearance kind of how it normally is. So basically his hair goes bright orange, and he has a major freak out about it, and turns into like a sludgy, depressed person for a while.
Tell you what, that's obviously Miyazaki's not being very PC there, because that therefore suggests that even across all those miles and all those different cultures, being ginger is still something to be terrified about.
Yeah,
Like, that's what that says.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Miyazaki always films are unusually. Not many animations tend to be longer than 2 hours. I mean, I think pretty much all of his films are around about pretty much bang on the 2 hour mark. But they can sometimes feel longer, and that's not necessarily criticism. It's just the pacing of the thing. He takes his time, and really allows you to kind of immerse yourself in these worlds and appreciate all of these beautiful images that kind of being presented to us.
Miyazaki obviously came from the South Korean school of cinema making, and that you get charged for every minute under the
Yeah,
2 hour mark that
yeah,
your film is.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's like a couple of like pretty big kind of action, like chase scenes, and like some spectacular like kind of fantasy war kind of visuals, and some interesting stuff what they do with magic as well. It gets quite trippy at one point when Hal basically reveals himself to Madame Suleiman, who is his old his teacher, who's the court appointed wizard, and basically they have like it's almost like an astral plane kind of magical battle where like she summons a tidal wave, and there's weird fireworks going on, and then like strange kind of beings of light dancing around him and stuff. It goes a bit kind of strange.
It's a trippy
But
animated version of the bit in the one Roger Corman Poe movie. I can't remember which one it is, where you got Boris Karloff.
the Raven, yeah, the
Yeah.
wizard duel and that, yeah. But there's and also I was quite like kind of the idea. I think I don't know if this kind of comes from Darwin Jones, but it seems like a very Miyazaki idea, because he touched on it in Princess Mononoke as well. It's basically like people with power, and kind of how it corrupts you, and the more you dip into it, the more you lose yourself with it. So how is this amazing kind of sorcerer, and you can turn into this like powerful majestic bird, but each time he does it, he becomes more feral, more bestial, and kind of loses a bit more of his humanity each time. He's almost like addicted to his power, and it's like, so it's up to Sophie like to bring him back from the brink, basically. As she's trying to solve her problem, she feels she needs to get involved with him as well, and bring him back in touch with his humanity. And wouldn't you know it, it involves getting him to quite literally get in touch with his inner child, because he, when he was a young man, that's when his predicament started. When he found the fire demon and made a bargain with it. She's got to get him back to, to that point. To break the curse, essentially. So there's a lot to go on. There's a lot going on with it, and I don't know. Is it kind of? is this like a suitable for all ages? I mean, it's or would it kind of a lot of it go over like kids' heads? I'm not really sure. I mean, like I say,
I
by
think
the time
that, yeah.
by the time I got round to it, I would have been a teenager, so I don't know how I would have.
I was going to say, I think you'd do it at maybe 10, 11, kind of is
Yeah,
probably the earliest. If you want to get anyone from sort of like 4, 5, or 6 for Ghibli, you show them Totoro essentially.
yeah,
And the weird thing is that Totoro is essentially the Mickey of Japan. Like all the 4,
yes,
5, and 6-year-olds, they don't have Mickey Mouse, or some of them might do, but they
yeah,
have Totoro things.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
you don't show them
Apparently,
Grave of the Fireflies.
no, you do not. No, no. To be honest,
Pikachu could
I
also be
probably
a Mickey Mouse figure.
Yeah, this is
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. I think Miyazaki's films have just got more kind of adult over time. Really, the Wind Rises, which would have been his retirement film had it not been for The Boy and the Heron earlier this
Which
year.
will be his retirement film. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. The Wind Rises was essentially it's an animated biopic about the guy who made the mass produced planes that Japanese kamikaze pilots use. So
Well,
that's not a story for kids,
but it's
Disagree.
it's incredibly personal to him, because that's one of the
Yeah,
jobs that his dad did during the
yeah,
war,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
why aviation's such a massive theme for him, is because
mm,
he feels a
yeah,
massive sense of personal guilt that his family was so
yeah,
deeply involved in the war effort, and that's why
yeah,
he's
yeah,
fascinated
He's
by aviation, and he's so
yeah.
anti-war.
Godzilla
I
minus
mean,
one, the person.
yeah, I mean, even Porco Rosso, which is obviously so prominently, features like flying and planes. It's very explicitly stated that it's set between the wars. They're not
Yeah.
flying these planes, to use in conflict. It's just all these kind of arrogant guys who like their flying machines, racing and squabbling with each other.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, you think of it like even Kiki's delivery service on a broom. It's flying. There's the big airship
yeah,
thing near
yeah,
at the end. Spirited Away.
yeah,
You're on the
yeah,
dragon.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'll say one thing. I don't think anyone quite does flying in animation as well as Miyazaki does in terms of like giving you that kind of feeling of complete freedom and liberation. It really does feel like you're experiencing it, just how the characters are, flying for the first time, unassisted.
I'll
It's
say
an
that
incredible thing.
I would say that nobody does a lot of things quite as good as Miyazaki.
No,
Well, it's nice
no.
Miyazaki didn't have to employ a meteorologist to find those clouds.
He's trying to segue. Wrap it up, Sam. He's
Yeah,
trying to
all
segue.
right,
I'm
all
not
right, all
segueing.
right.
I'm just pointing out
Right.
similarities.
Yeah, yeah. I was just going to say, yeah, just a couple of things. It's very nice of Miyazaki, even though the film wasn't released till the following year in the UK in 2005, he did travel to England to give a private screening of the film to Diana Wynne-Jones before
Yeah.
before she died.
Do we know how
So
she received it?
I haven't been able to find that now, but I'm sure she was. I'm sure she was very polite and English/Welsh about it. I mean, I think you noticed, but he did change quite a few things
Yeah.
the novel, and obviously made it more him. Brought more of himself into it. It's like, I don't think like the war kind of element is in the novel, but she
So
goes
she
more into
might have
like
hated it.
Yeah.
she goes more into like the magic kind of side of it. Because apparently in the novel, Sophia has had two sisters, and one of them disguises herself as the other one. And there's lots of identity switching in the book apparently. So when because there's a scene in the film where she goes to she sees her sister who works at a bakery, but apparently in the novel that sister is the other sister disguised as that sister. So, um, yeah, it sounds like there's a fair bit more going on in terms of the characters in the novel, but maybe Miyazaki kind of just
There is
took
a on YouTube.
took what he took from it.
Yeah, there is a 7-odd minute, I think, interview with Diana Wynne-Jones where she talks about it, and as far as I can work out, she's generally very happy. She's like, kind of, It was wonderful, and I loved it. It wasn't quite exactly how I portrayed it, but in terms of what this is on the screen, because you're always going to make changes, it was great and wonderful. Because I just very quickly watching this with the sound off and the subtitles on, she mentioned something like Calcifer. She goes, "Wasn't exactly how I portrayed him in the book, but still I loved him and thought he was wonderful." That kind of thing. So,
and this is from the book. Someone asks, or like I guess a copy that released after with an interview. Were you surprised by Hayao Miyazaki's vision of the castle and the characters? I was surprised by Miyazaki's moving castle because I had not thought of the castle having feet.
Is a floating castle. Apparently, she came up with it when she was in the school, and somebody, a boy there, asked her to write a novel about a moving castle, and so she did. And got another 2 novels out afterwards.
Nice little bit of trivia for you here, Kieran. So in the film, the castle obviously moves around, but it's got like the door out of it. It's got like it's like a portal, basically, to several different realms. So you turn the dial and it takes you to like another part of the plane of existence. Apparently, in the novel, the black door is the portal to Howl's homeland, which is Wales in our current time and dimension.
Yeah. And also, Kieran, it lost to Wallace and Gromit at the 70.
I know that much. Yeah. If you see the clip on YouTube of them being announced, everyone's kind of really happy with it, and Miyazaki's just got this face of like, I lost to this. But you know what? If he was going to lose to anything that year, Wallace and Gromit is a damn good thing to lose to, because Curse of the Were-Rabbit is underappreciated. It's a very damn good movie.
I mean,
other than its Academy Award win.
Ghibli are still like keeping that kind of hand-drawn animation kind of alive.
Yeah.
I mean, as you said, Kieran, obviously, there are CG elements in this. Still, like the majority kind of it is using traditional means as far as they can take them.
And even the CGI is done in a way that seems like it's hand-drawn as much as possible.
Is it CGI like in the Pokemon movie, or obviously you said it blends in better, but does it kind of stick out a little?
It's just with some like the particle effects and like I suppose it's the more out there kind of magical visuals. I think that there is a CG kind of elements.
So they started bringing it in a little bit in Spirited Away, just for certain moments. Just to try and can we use this to accentuate rather than take over, and you get the same thing here.
But this one's always really spoke to me. Like I think the characters are great. I think obviously it's good looking even by Miyazaki's standard. My friends very kindly got me a nice big print of the castle walking up the hill. You know, they've got in my bedroom. So it's always been like an iconic image for me. I think the score is wonderful as well. Is Miyazaki's normal collaborator Joe Hisashi.
He was on tour in Austria, I think it was, earlier this year, doing full kind of thing. So he's still going around and performing. He's got his own YouTube channel.
I mean, if you go on YouTube, you can just see him just messing around on his keyboard, basically. You know, just something he posts quite regularly. It's like extremes of this channel. It's either him on his own in like a small room on his keyboard, or it's him conducting like 100-piece orchestra.
Yeah,
it's like there's nothing in between.
Put it this way, you know he's good when there's essentially a random Japanese film composer, and on YouTube he has 1.2 million subscribers.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think kind of anyone who hasn't seen this one, I'd highly recommend it. It's kind of it is magical. You know, it is kind of captivating. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's all that good stuff. You know, and I've probably seen it. You know, at least 10 times, and I never tire of going back to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just very quickly, there's looking through his thing. Merry-Go-Round of Life from Howl's Moving Castle, a video of him performing it with an orchestra, uploaded a year ago, 5.8 million views.
Nice.
Go, he's just a wonderful composer, just of music in general.
Well, I am pretty vocal about my disinterest in Studio Ghibli films, but I mean, I'm gonna at least try and watch this. Maybe I'll like it.
Which ones have you seen?
Spirited Away.
That's it.
Okay, well, give a few more of them a go. Maybe try some Takahata films. Just give yourself a treat and watch Grave of the Fireflies, and then
Yeah.
depress yourself for at least a fortnight.
I do love to be
Yeah.
depressed.
It is depressing, but that's kind of infamous now for just like,
Yeah.
you want to trick
Yeah.
somebody into watching apparently a heartfelt film. Grave of the Fireflies is where you go.
Yeah.
Nice
Nice.
light-hearted kids film.
Yeah. So from a film that features weird flying machines to one that features
Weird
real-world
flying
machines.
Still weird flying
Also
machines.
weird. Yes. So I found out Scorsese directed a movie in 2004, so naturally I just jumped on that.
Is this the second Scorsese in a row?
It is. My initial message in Slack said, "Can I get away with this?" And then I just edited it to, "I'm doing it."
I remember many years ago when you're like, "Oh, we're not doing a film by the same director for at least 50 episodes." Then you're like, "Sod it, why not?"
Well, who knows?
This is my podcast. Screw you.
Well, it's our podcast. If you guys had said no, don't do, I would have done something else. But
let's be honest, you would have done anyway.
But this movie, unlike the other two, was massive at the 77th. Obviously, Howl's was at the 78th Academy Awards. This was massive at the 77th. I think it had 11 total nominations at the Oscars, and it won 5 of them. I mean, when you're looking through the Oscars that year, it's like this, $1 Million Baby, Ray, just over and over again, like, it's like Barbie, or a Scorsese movie at the Oscars. Just, he's always going to get nominated for Best Director. This is actually the movie where he tied Hitchcock and King Vidor and a few other people for most nominations without a win, because he did not win this year. That's
great.
great.
Of all
Streak,
things, and of all things, they gave it to him for The Departed, which was not for The Departed. It was for the, oh crap, we haven't given Scorsese an Oscar yet.
Lifetime achievement.
I was going to say, this is the other thing about remakes, just very quickly with The Departed. It's like when everyone goes, "Oh, Hollywood's run out of ideas," nobody complains the fact that Scorsese, who's like, "Oh, the titan of great auteur cinema," won his Oscar for a remake of a foreign language, a non.
Well, Sam did. Sam complained about it.
I complained, because it's not as good as Infernal Affairs.
Yeah, you complain about the quality of the movie. I complain about nobody brings up that he also did a remake of a non-English language film, and apparently it's ignored that that's a remake because it's decent.
Well, and here's the interesting thing about this movie. You think of Scorsese, you think of his gangster films, you think of like Mean Streets, Goodfellas, Casino, all that. He just has so many, like, obviously people think of the Willem Dafoe Jesus movie, but like there's so many random movies that he made, and I would put this among them. This isn't a Scorsese film if you're thinking of the traditional idea of auteur. He didn't write the script. He was kind of just brought in on a series of projects that have been developed based on Howard Hughes' life, and specifically now the book Howard Hughes' The Secret Life, which is what this was based on. Also, I wondered if the original The Aviator was about how it. I guess it's not. This is not a remake of a 1940s film or whatever that's from. But yeah,
Now I'm gonna look up what the original Aviator was.
That's a good plan, because I did not.
Carry on.
Yeah, so basically Scorsese came in and was like, "Oh, Howard Hughes, he's a weird guy. Sure, I'll make a movie about him." And
I was going to say, you say it's not a typical Martin Scorsese movie, but there's one thing Martin Scorsese loves doing more than anything else other than gangsters. It's essentially going, "Oh, cinema people."
What?
Like,
but that's the funny thing is, I expected more of the cinema, but like it's about the planes. It's the opening sequence is about. Yeah, thank you. Now I can't think of any plane puns. I'm gonna have to come up with those as I talk.
Just gotta wing it.
Oh god dear. But basically, Scorsese loved like he loved the movie Wings. He had seen that. He didn't see any Howard Hughes movies until the 70s. So that's when he saw Scarface. That's when he saw Hell's
And then
Angels.
his best mate did the remake about 10 years later
Yeah, right.
with his actor.
Apparently, Scorsese or not Howard Hughes had like those two movies kind of under lock and key in a way for a long time. They were tough to get a hold of, and also The Conqueror. The Conqueror was another Howard Hughes movie that was impossible to find until the 1970s when Paramount got the rights to it. Yeah. So. Yeah. Gosh, yeah, Howard Hughes, he worked in all kinds of... my internet connection is unstable. That's great.
Yes, you dropped off for a few seconds.
You got froze for about 10 seconds there.
Oh, no. Well, whatever. Howard Hughes, eccentric, rich guy. He was born into incredible privilege and wealth in Houston, Texas. And so Leo gets to use his southern accent in this movie. And... yeah, basically his dad made drill bits for like oil stuff, and his parents both died, and young Howard Hughes inherited millions of dollars in teens or 20s money, and went off to Hollywood to do whatever he wanted. And that's sort of the theme throughout the movie is he just throws money at every problem. He is 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s Francis Ford Coppola. Just visionary, throwing money at the issues. But, obviously Howard Hughes had a lot of issues. And that's where I think the movie is most interesting, is when his OCD really starts to manifest. And, Leo does an insane job of like portraying that so gradually throughout the film. Because, I mean, Kieran, you know how movies are shot. Sam, you do too. We all have an idea. They don't shoot it in order. So, like, there's a chance one of the first scenes he shot is him having to, like, get the long hair cut by Ava Gardner, played by Kate Beckinsale, as he is coming out of, like, the pits of his despair. And just imagine having to jump straight into that. As Leo DiCaprio, like, I'm just assuming that was shot first because of his hair and beard situation. I'm sure the first step was grow it all out and then go shorter as the film went on.
On the upside, it's Kate Beckinsale cutting your hair, so I'm sure it's not that depressing.
Yeah, I mean, famously, one of the things everyone knows about how to use was like towards the end, he was like this Yeti-looking guy with like 6-inch long nails, stuff. It's just a complete like shut-in recluse, and just not looking after himself at all.
Well, and I mean, I guess I'll just start there. That is my favorite sequence in the movie, is when Howard Hughes locked. I don't know if the timeline is exactly right for him doing this, but I mean, it works in the movie. He locked himself in a room for 4 months and just watched movies over and over. Arranged Kleenex boxes, had jars of urine everywhere, which is like a huge shot in the film, pulling back to reveal his milk bottles filled with pee. Yeah, I mean, he was a very odd dude, and of course, mental health resources weren't really a thing. It was more like, we're gonna shock you until you're not crazy. So
either that, or we just leave you in a room until and keep you out of the way, and probably charge people to come see you as the tourist attraction.
Yeah, and so what Leo does is he sits down in the room looking normal, and then time advances, and he has the long hair and the long beard and the long nails, long fingernail, their toenails.
This isn't looking good for me, is it?
Show us your fingernails. Kieran locks himself in rooms and watches movies for months on end. We know this.
Yeah.
And yeah,
because how else did he get through 50-odd Hitchcock films?
That was over several months as well. So.
Well, one of the things that he's doing is watching a plane movie in that sequence, and so he falls on the floor writhing in pain, I guess thinking about his aviation troubles in that moment, as like the planes fly projected over his body, his naked body. And it's such an incredible sequence. I love that. This won Best Cinematography I forget that Robert Richardson. God, it's the
It's not
RR.
Rodriguez.
No, whatever his name is. He won Best Cinematography,
Yeah.
and he worked really hard, like with Scorsese, taking the different approaches of Technicolor throughout the film. So, Kieran, the way your movie changes, it went from like to something. I read his full interview with the American Cinematographer magazine, and they just changed their style over each section of the film to like align with what was being used as far as Technicolor.
So that's cool about Robert Richardson. So he's one of three living people who has won the Academy Award for Best Cinematography 3 times. There's been Vittorio Sotaro and Emanuel Lubitsky. So
nice.
there you go.
Don't worry. When he actually decides to start again, Deakins should get his 3rd one. Although, actually, let's be honest, we weren't expecting him to get the 1st.
No.
Yeah, and by the way, there's another Coppola connection in that. So great. Oh man, this movie also has a really weird cast. Like Adam Scott is in this movie. Jude Law is in this movie playing Errol Flynn for like one scene.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like Hollywood royalty they've got to represent in this time period, and I mean, because I hadn't seen this film for a few years, I had forgotten about the cast. But looking at it now, it is quite incredible.
Gwen Stefani is in this movie. Alan Alda is in this movie. Alec Baldwin. I mean, it's such a strange collection for me, and it's really cool that Adam Scott was in this. I've always wondered, what did he do before Step Brothers, because that's really all I knew him from as a kid. So
Ian Holm's in it as well, and you say it's a weird collection of people that are in this movie. One, Scorsese does that. Two, I bring up is it Street Fighter and Kylie Minogue? So you can't say anything.
Yeah.
And I forgot that Willem Dafoe shows up for a scene to be shaken down by Howard Hughes for footage of Katharine Hepburn. So
Brent Spiner's in it, Data from Next Generation.
So kind of the story is, it's Howard Hughes's life before he really goes off the rails mentally, starting in like 1927 when he's making Hell's Angels. And the story there is, he made it as a silent film to be like the craziest plane film in existence, because he was a plane obsessed guy, and that's that was his love. Like he worked in a lot of different industries, but he was the aviator. That was his thing. And he
roll credits.
he then turned it from a silent film into a sound film, and spent millions, again in 1920s dollars, millions of dollars after seeing The Jazz Singer into a sound film. And they had to reshoot tons of the movie. He was in a plane crash during the filming of it, as he was shooting sequences. And then I love the conversation he has with Louis B. Mayer, where he's like, "Hey, can I borrow 2 cameras? I have 24. I need 26." And they're like, "Ha, this idiot."
Here's the thing. Doing a quick wiki for Hell's Angels the other day. Hell's Angels actually did very well at the box office. It was one of the top grossing hits of the year, but it had the similar problem to Cleopatra in '63, in that it costs so much to make it. It doesn't matter how much it makes, it's never going to make up the shortfall.
Yep. I really need to watch Hell's Angels. I didn't have time to squeeze it in this week.
I was going to say, I've seen Wings, and I reviewed Wings for the site. Wings is actually very good, and the aerial combat sequences are very impressive, so I'll probably have to watch this to catch up.
Because they were done for real, essentially.
Yeah, and comparing this to Hitchcock, this is where you can tell that, I mean, I don't know how much of The Aviator, the film, is accurate to life, but let's just assume it is for now. This is the difference between the two, in that in here, Howard Hughes is just throwing money at it, and no matter what happens, he can change it. Hitchcock was making blackmail. had the foresight to think the jazz singers come out, what if they asked me to make a silent version, and shot Blackmail originally in such a way that making sound version of it would be fairly simple and wouldn't require the entire film to be redone.
It helps when you have like what 15 years of experience in the industry already, if not more. Whereas I mean, Hughes had produced films before that, but this was his directorial debut, and he was just a hot shot throwing money at everything. The story of his career.
Later on in his career, at least in the film, like he still just throws money at things. So it's not like being in the industry for a while changes anything.
And so it's a slice of life that kind of just goes through the events that are happening. So around that time, he starts dating Katharine Hepburn. Cate Blanchett won Best Supporting Actress, and she is so good as I can't see Cate Blanchett. I see Katharine Hepburn.
She's uncanny, and it's really weird because you look at them side by side, and they look nothing alike. But something in like her kind of how she holds herself and just completely changed. It's almost like more like her kind of body language, just completely. It's just like a chameleon. It's just she becomes this complete other woman, and it's completely convincing. You know, it's uncanny.
It's also interesting because Katharine Hepburn was like reclusive and private herself. And so having to portray the private life of a private person, you're kind of basing it in ways off their Hollywood persona. I guess that's what helps make it convincing, but like she's wearing the suits and she has the voice and it's so good. I love her in this movie. And basically they have a relationship. She's, you know, I think she's going through like a down period in her career here. It wasn't until Philadelphia Story in the 40s that she kind of got out of a rut and really moved to the star that we remember her as. And in that period, I think it's like the mid-30s they're dating, and Howard Hughes is getting into planes. He builds the H-1 Racer, and it gets the airspeed record. But of course, Howard Hughes crashes that plane. And then he goes on to buy an airline, the Trans World Airlines or something like that. He starts developing like crazy aircraft for the military for World War II. He builds the XR-11, which is a spy plane. He builds the H-4 Hercules, which is the biggest plane ever made. It's 5 stories tall. Its wingspan is over 100 yards, and or 100 meters in for our international listeners. And it has its test flight at the end, which is a success. That's sort of the triumphant moment of the film. But basically, he was like, let's make weird stuff, and let's make it really fast, and then I'm going to fly it around personally, no matter what happens. He crashed the XR-11. That's one of the big scenes in the film. He says, oh, I'm going to land it on the LA Country Club golf course, slams it into 3 houses, and like... That's the point where I start having trouble seeing him as a cool visionary, and I see him instead as Elon Musk of the 1940s, where he just has no regard for anybody and only cares for his legacy, which I think that's an approach Scorsese wanted to take but ended up kind of pulling back from, a more critical look.
It's weird because you say this is like a very untypical Scorsese film. It's almost like he's the less kind of assholey, kind of plainly exploitative version of like almost like Wolf of Wall Street in terms of that kind of playboy lifestyle, but without as much of the drugs. He's kind of very determined to the job rather than the lifestyle, if that makes sense. But it's still DiCaprio, it's still kind of slice of life. You've still got the multiple things. You've still got the bad stuff happening over time, and it feels...
Like,
it feels like a companion piece kind of thing almost.
Definitely, because DiCaprio is always going to be charming. I mean, that's what he is. He's charm kind of personified, but he can play it, and it's been increasingly clear about this in the last stage of his career. He can also bring this other element to it. This kind of darker kind of dark element, like just below the surface. You know, he's just struggling to kind of keep back, you know, and not reveal to the world. You know, he's You know, he's a screwed up dude trying to appear less screwed up. Like
I was going to say he can do charming, but he can also do a Jake Gyllenhaal when he needs to.
Well, and I think what this movie has, instead of the darker side, it has sort of an immature, childlike side to Howard Hughes, where he was kind of stunted once his parents died and then just was doing whatever he wanted for the rest of his life. Another unsettling thing is he dates a 16-year-old or 15. Faith, I forget how to pronounce her name. She's an actress. She's real.
I tell you what though, whoever plays her it is came on the screen and I had to do a double take because it looks like Mia Goth in like Pearl. I did it so I'm like I had to quickly go and check because when she first appears on like the stage or whatever it is, I don't know if it's because the hair and the lipstick. I'm like that looks like Mia Goth in Pearl. Like, what's going on?
Yes, So I think it's Domergue. So I think it's Faith Domergue. I think was the
Thank
real.
you. Yeah, she had a contract with RKO Radio Pictures. That's the studio Hughes owned. So he was part of the antitrust lawsuit whenever...
I mean, they're not justifying it by any means, but this was like the 30s and early 40s. This was happening a lot in Hollywood. I mean, Chaplin infamously.
I was going to say, watch Babylon if you want.
Well, and the other thing with it too is I think it is supposed to display his desire for control over his partner by that point. That's sort of where the film starts to digress, is after he and Katharine Hepburn break up, because he can't control her. She is a powerful person. She's a big star, even if it is sort of on the decline at that point. Her family has all of these very particular views, and there's the scene where he goes over to their house and they don't get along, to say the least. It is interesting. I wonder if his deafness was selective in a way, because of the way because the way it comes and goes. There's the scene where he's debuting. By the way, this film also opened at the Chinese theater, so that's fun. But he's at the debut for Hell's Angels there, and like, he's very awkward with that interviewer, and it's tough to tell, can he not hear? Does he not like crowds? Is it a combination of the two? But after he breaks up with Katharine Hepburn, everything goes off the rails, and he's bugging Ava Gardner's, home and her telephone. Whenever they break up, he's like, hey, keep one of the bugs. We're gonna keep that one. Get rid of the rest. I don't think the film is necessarily expressly critical of that, but I think any viewer watching that is going to know, based on her reaction, that...
This always debate comes back time and time again with Scorsese, with films like Goodfellas and Wolf of Wall Street. Depiction isn't the same as endorsement. It's like if you got half a brain cell and a moral compass, then you can tell just he's showing all these kind of lifestyles, but he's not glamorizing them. He's just showing them for what's and all, kind of how wrong we can go as a species.
Yeah, and I think kind of where the film loses any sort of criticism, and this was a conscious choice by Scorsese and Schumacher to do this. It's when the Hercules or Spruce Goose was sort of because it was made out of wood. Because of the lack of materials during the war, he used wood, not spruce, but other wood to build the H-4 Hercules, the biggest plane in the world. And so his maiden voyage, and only one, at the end of the movie is intercut with his Senate hearing, where he is fighting against the corrupt senator played by Alan Alda, who is supporting Alec Baldwin's airline. And that's a point of tension, is they want to monopolize international travel, but Howard Hughes is like, no, that is wrong. That's stupid. So on the one hand, like, I support his fight there. But on the other hand, it's like millionaire fighting millionaire, just because he wants to make, like, it's not like this was some noble fight. It was, I want the right to make money off this too. And so it's like, it's tough to really sympathize, but his motivations and his sort of history up until this point is portrayed in the film at least, and also in his real life, it's interesting enough to make him a figure that, like, yeah, I mean, I guess I do want him to succeed over Pan Am in this fight, but basically his really triumphant victory in the Senate is contrasted with the victory in getting the Hercules to fly for like 100 feet or however long it was in the air, like 30 seconds.
It technically wins his bet. He doesn't have to lead the US, you know.
Yeah, and originally Scorsese didn't want that to be such a triumphant scene, but that's the way him and Schumacher, who won the Best Editing Oscar for the second time in her career for her work on this. Also, 2 of the assistant editors got to play roles as editors on Hell's Angels. So they're in the movie as extras. But yeah, they decided to intercut those 2 scenes. And so I think the way the film ends is kind of dour. It foreshadows his eccentricity and downfall into mental health issues as he just stands in front of the mirror going, the way of the future, the way of the future, the way of the future, and everything's black behind him, and it's very complex for just a guy standing there saying the way of the future over and over again. I think that's a really interesting way to end the film. It's so weird and very unsettling, and I loved it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need to revisit it because I've not seen it in a while. But
yeah, but yeah, it could be argued to be like a meandering film. There are probably things you could take out of it, but like overall, it's an interesting watch. I'm not gonna put it in like my top 10 of Scorsese or anything, but like his worst outing is going to beat a lot of people's best outing by a mile. And like just the level of care and thought put into a movie that was just sort of thrust on him is really impressive.
I mean, the thing with Scorsese is even if you don't like a movie, it's never going to be bad. Like, you know, and I'll admit, and you know my thoughts on this, I'm not somebody that massively cares. I appreciate Scorsese. I don't massively care about his films. They don't get me like that, but I actually did very much enjoy this. Again, bit long. You look at it, and we shouldn't look at it and go, "Oh my god, it's nearly 3 hours." We should go, "Oh my god, that's 3 hours of amazing, beautiful filmmaking craft." But there is a voice in the back of your head going, "Oh my god, it's nearly 3 hours long." But you know what? And yes, you probably could cut it down to like 2.5 hours, and not that much is going to go. But at the same time, like the stuff that's on there and in the film, you're not complaining about because it's well done, it's well shot, it's well edited, well directed, it's well acted, and you can't complain about it, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah, and it's a big old complex life that they're retelling to us, you know. So that almost justifies the runtime for me.
And also, they used radio-controlled scale models of the planes. So for the Hercules, I think it was like 25-foot wingspan, and then they put it in the same harbor where Hughes flew the plane, and they used the remote control RC whatever to fly it.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I presume they use like a lot of like antique planes, you know, like from collectors and museums and things. But I was thinking, surely they couldn't afford to like, actually wreck these. You know?
Well, it would have been.
Ridiculous.
It would have been that or CGI, like we were talking about earlier, but Scorsese saw the CGI and the criticisms of it in Pearl Harbor and was like, no, I'm going to use scale models, and I'll use green screen for the cockpit, and like, we'll figure it out. It's not going to look stupid. And it looks really good. The planes are like super impressive. And then like, obviously, what makes this a Scorsese film? It's his team. It's the people that he has around him that he's able to put in place to make this the movie that it is. So while it's not a Scorsese film in the sense that like it has a visual trademark or something like that, I think where his personality comes through is in the subject matter in a way, you know, somebody doing old Hollywood, somebody who's passionate about something, but then also putting in, he had been working with Robert Richardson on Casino and that Nick Cage movie that I can't remember the name of, and then Thelma Schumacher, obviously, and a few other people that are just even her assistants and stuff. Like, there's a lot of repeat people from his 90s films into this. And then Leo, of course, will come to be even more recognized. They had worked on Gangs of New York and then this, and the rest is history.
And you say it's not like a typical Scorsese movie. It's weird in that if you'd have gone, who is this done by, you probably wouldn't immediately say Scorsese. As soon as somebody tells you this was done by Scorsese, you go, of course it is.
Yeah.
It makes obvious sense because now it looks like a Scorsese
yeah.
film and you can tell.
I think you could say the same thing about something like After Hours, which is another project he went on to quite quickly, and it was kind of used as like a stopgap between his dream projects, but he still managed to kind of impart his personality on it, though it might not be as obvious from like the first kind of reel, sooner rather than later. It's his usual style kind of shines through.
I was going to say, just because it doesn't have Italian Americans or voiceovers over quick, flashy montage, kind of jumping between scenes kind of things, and bits like that, and lots of violence and stuff like that, you still kind of look at it, and as soon as you go, this is a Scorsese film, you go, it is a Scorsese film.
Of course it is,
Yeah. Except not the ones that he cares about. Not Best Actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope.
No?
I think that plane is flown.
I think we've covered it.
I know. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah, best voice in the business.
And during this, I have been looking, and I can't find him having worked on a Scorsese film. So we will not be having a triple header.
So yeah, we're doing James Earl Jones next week. But until then, guys, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSB Thinks Film and at the Film Magazine, where I have this week have done a 60th anniversary review of Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Boom. Hopefully you don't find me anywhere.
Featuring James Earl Jones.
Yes. If you find me anywhere, I am K Judgmental across the various places. Did I have my thing of Afraid out last week? I can't remember when I went to watch it. I tried to block it out of my mind.
It was.
Okay, in which case I haven't had anything up recently, but there will be things that you can go and find.
And Bella Madge, she reviewed West Side Story 1961, so you can go read that. It's listed under guest. Her name's down at the bottom of the article. You can find me at Jacob Film Guy, and I have stuff coming out. It's just sitting in the editor. And then we also have a big project that we're cooking up behind the scenes, so look forward to that as well.
It's going to be as tasty as a Studio Ghibli meal.
Yes. Oh my God. And let's shout out Joe. He is working himself to death year after year to keep.
I keep
this
telling him
website
to get
online.
help, and he just refuses on multiple levels.
Well, refuses, or we give us money. Give us money to pay people to ease Joe's job. You could do that in the PayPal.
Go to psychiatric help and sleep a bit.
Or at least to the cinema more often. Whatever his preference is. Give us money on our PayPal down in the description, or you can also buy stuff from our Redbubble store if you prefer a transaction instead of just handing over your money for free. So
give us your money.
Yeah, give us your money. We're begging. We will do almost anything for that money.
Jacob will turn up at your front door like a Scorsese movie and demand the money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In the Scorsese movie accent as well.
I will be putting loans against my airline. Let's see.
He will make you an offer you can't refuse. Oh no, that's probably bad. Anyway.
Oh God. Do we plug anything else? I don't think so. That's it.
Nah,
Thank you for listening, and
Thank you.
goodbye.
goodbye.